Hey, how about visiting my parents this Christmas? That was how it all started. And the beginning of the end. My name is Mary. I'm a 35-year-old housewife. I met my husband, Jack, at work, and it was a workplace romance. Right after we got married, we were blessed with our lovely daughter, Emily, and I quit my job. Now she's 6, and we visited my husband's parents' house for the first time, but it was far away. Hey, is dinner ready yet? My mother-in-law's voice echoed through the room. Yes. Just a moment. I reply while bustling around. My mother-in-law sighs deeply. You're so slow. Jack, how can you stand such a slow wife? Well, yeah. Other wives are much more efficient, she really is too slow, and it's a problem. What the heck? You jerk. He is just lunging around and watching TV, of all things. As I was about to retort to my husband, my mother-in-law's words rained down on me. After breakfast, you've got yard work. Then you're organizing the attic. And after that, cleaning out the shed. It's supposed to be Christmas holiday. The one time of the year you're supposed to relax. And yet, why am I working like this? And my husband, still slacking off as usual, really gets on my nerves. By the time I somehow finished all the tasks, I was completely exhausted and couldn't move. I sat down in the living room. Phew, I'm beat. Who said you could rest? Get started on lunch now. My mother-in-law ordered me without missing a beat. I've been working all this time, let me rest a bit. A wife is basically like a maid. You think you can eat for free without working? Get to work. But. My husband's hometown is in the countryside. In the countryside, for better or worse, old customs linger. A wife is someone who marries into a family. It's an old-fashioned way of thinking, I guess. But even in the old days, there weren't wives who worked this hard. Can you give me a hand, honey? No way. My husband replied briskly. He does nothing at home. And at his parents' place, he's even worse, just drinking away. He's still lounging in the same spot as this morning, right? Hey, I need to go buy some groceries. Why don't you go then? Come with me. The supermarket in the countryside is far. My husband, who has a driver's license, has been drinking since morning, and I don't have a license. So, walking is the only option, but a 30-minute walk one way is too much for me alone. So I ask him at least to help carry the groceries, but he frowns. No way. Another immediate response. I feel like throwing a garbage at his face. It would surely be a hassle to remove. While I imagine this, my husband idly swings his beer can. I'm drinking right now. What's with that robotic talk? I'm tipsy now. So what? I can't go. So, he doesn't want to go, huh? Fine then. This useless man. While I'm seething, my mother-in-law yells from behind. Isn't dinner ready yet? Ugh. Fine. I'll buy tons of marshmallows. Yeah, I finally made it back. A 30-minute walk one way was really tough. And on the way back, I'm carrying groceries in both hands. I stagger into my husband's parents' house, completely exhausted. I put down the bags and plop down in the entrance. I let out a long sigh. That's when it happened. Hurry up. Geez, you're as slow as your mother. I'm sorry. I hear my mother-in-law's angry voice and my daughter apologizing. At that moment, I was like a robot. I was running on backup energy, having depleted all my primary energy. Forgetting all my fatigue, I suddenly jump up and dash towards the source of the voices. I stepped over my husband, who was still lazing around, and rushed over. I thought I heard a pathetic whimper from underfoot, but I ignored it for now. I head to the kitchen where the voices came from. And what I saw was... What are you doing? I yell, and my mother-in-law and daughter both look at me. Mom. You finally got back, huh? Seeing my face, my daughter's face brightened. I could see tears in her eyes. Sitting in a chair, my mother-in-law was arrogantly perched. What are you doing? At my question, mother-in-law snorted. Looking over, I saw my daughter, Emily, holding a saucepan. Why? Emily, what are you doing? My daughter explained hesitantly at my question. Well, Grandma said she was hungry and told me to get ready. She told me to start cooking. My goodness. Not being able to cook, what a useless granddaughter. What have you been teaching her? Like mother, like daughter, huh? I wonder if she's really my son's child. Even I couldn't hold back when my daughter was spoken about like that. She's only 6 years old. Telling such a young child to cook, can't you do it yourself? Saying such things to your own granddaughter. Mother-in-law's face turned red as she screeched. What are you saying, making an old lady like me work? What a terrible woman you are. Listen, a wife is basically a maid, it's natural for her to work quietly. And a maid's daughter is also a maid. A maid. Exactly. Who do you think allows you to live? You're living off the money my son works so hard to earn. It's only right to respect your husband and me. Stop complaining and work, maid. With that outburst, mother-in-law stormed out of the kitchen. I was so taken aback, I couldn't retort. I was too shocked to find the words. Mother-in-law seemed to have gone to the living room where my husband was. I could hear their conversation. Your wife is so useless, not even as good as a maid. Well, well. Emily will grow up and be of use, just a little patience. You've been having a tough time, haven't you? You know, you can always come back home. Divorce? That might be good, but then, a maid is necessary, right? Maybe we should live together. I've been fed up with my job anyway. Let her work and I'll enjoy a laid-back life in the countryside. What did my husband just say? Shocked by his horrifying statement, I was stunned. Oh, that sounds good. Mother-in-law agreed, and I stood there frozen. I clenched my fists tightly when suddenly a warm hand gently covered mine. Mom? It was Emily. I slowly looked at her face. She looked up at me, her face filled with concern. I crouched down to her level and slowly began to speak. Emily. Yes? Do you like Daddy? Well. She didn't answer right away. Of course, she wouldn't. My husband has been indifferent to parenting. He barely talks to Emily or me when he gets home from work, just lounges on the sofa watching TV or fiddling with his phone. On weekends, he goes out drinking and comes home late. Since the times changed and he couldn't go out, he's been drinking at home until late at night. The next day's hangover has become a routine. During long weekends, he just lazes at home or goes out with friends. Family outings? We've barely done any. Actually, when was the last time we did? How many months, or rather, years has it been since this family trip, disguised as a visit to the in-laws? I bet my husband doesn't even know what class our daughter is in at school. He knows nothing about her likes and dislikes. He has no interest in what she wants to be when she grows up. No wonder she can't say she likes her father. It's only natural. So, I asked again. Then, do you like Grandma? I hate her. So, an immediate answer there. I couldn't help but give a wry smile. No wonder, after being yelled at like that. But then, she said something unexpected. Because Grandma bullies Mom. It's supposed to be Christmas, but Mom never gets to relax, right? Always being told to do this and that. Grandma is mean. Children observe more than we think. I guess it was obvious, with all those direct commands. While chuckling, I asked a crucial question. Emily, would you like to live with Grandma? She shook her head. What about Dad? I don't need him. Her immediate response was impressive. And my decision was made. The next day, I went out with my daughter early in the morning. By the time we returned to my in-laws' home, it was already dark. Entering the house, my mother-in-law and my husband were waiting, looking irritated. Finally back, where have you been? Just out and about. I evaded husband's question. Seeing my reaction, mother-in-law commented. Ugh, young wives these days. Fine, you are now officially a maid. Hey, maid, I'm hungry. Where's dinner and tea? Ever the commander, mother-in-law. I silently served tea to both of them. My husband reached for his teacup. But I swiftly snatched it away. Eh? What the heck? He looked dumbfounded. And then I doused him with the tea. Whoa. What are you doing? Don't worry, it's cooled down. That's not the point. Hey, stop. I doused him thoroughly with the tea, swiftly dodging his reaching hand, and placed the teacup down with a clink. Hey, you. How dare you, a mere maid? Mother-in-law's eyes bulged with anger. Shut up. I am not your maid or anything else. I retorted fiercely. Mother-in-law stood up, about to yell, but I cut her off. I interrupted her. What the? A son's wife is not a maid. If you didn't know, let me teach you. I am not a maid. I pressed on, seeing my mother-in-law unable to respond. Her mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. I glared at her, foam practically coming out of her mouth, and leaned in close. Oh. She let out a scream like she was cringing. I moved my face even closer, unbothered. The distance was just 4 inches. Listen, and listen well. There's no system in this world that allows you to exploit a daughter-in-law as much as you like. I will protect my family, but I have no intention of becoming a family servant. What? I am your husband's mother. I am family. You should protect me, follow my orders. Are you okay, in the head? If I were really a maid, I wouldn't be family. How are you family if you're ordering around the maid? I replied calmly to my mother-in-law's nonsensical words. Her face, which was pale a moment ago, now turned bright red. How dare you talk to me like that? Because you are so rude. Who do you think you are? I am your mother-in-law. Save the jokes for when you're sleeping. I had been patient. Incredibly patient. But I couldn't anymore. There's a limit to everything. And with my mother-in-law and husband's attitudes, my patience finally crumbled. And what about your granddaughter? You think she's a maid too? Enough with the jokes. I leaned in closer, and mother-in-law's face turned pale again. Like a traffic light. So weak. After all her grand talk, just a bit of pushback and she's like this. I was disappointed by her shallowness. I pulled back, narrowing my eyes in disgust. Mother-in-law, now pale, trembled slightly. After looking at her, I turned to the other person. Now it's your turn. Oh, okay. My husband replied with a pathetic voice. I glared at him. What's up with that? Your wife and daughter are being treated like maids, and what were you doing? I was playing with my phone. And then? I was drinking beer. Using your wife and daughter's mistreatment as snacks for your drinks. How privileged. Sorry. Sorry doesn't cut it if you need the police. Oh no. He screamed pathetically as I yelled with a demonic expression. He hid behind his mother, trying to escape. What is he doing? Frustrated and with a headache, I decided to get straight to the point and presented a piece of paper. Just sign this, and let's be done with it. What's this? My husband, who had been hiding behind his mother, peeked out cautiously. They were like a parent turtle and a hatchling. His face went completely pale when I told him about a divorce. Divorce? What's this all about? We're getting divorced, so I won't be coming here ever again. Huh? Both my mother-in-law and husband were left speechless by my words. I've already contacted a lawyer. I'll start procedures after the holiday, so write quickly. No way. Unfortunately for you. I'm quick to act once I've made up my mind. As I said this to him, my husband shook his head, almost in tears. I don't want a divorce. I don't want it. Troubled that I won't be around? Yes. Relieved to have me do everything for you? Yes. So, having me as a maid is convenient, and that's why divorce bothers you? Yes. No, I mean, not like that. Caught in your own words, aren't you? Gosh. This feels like deja vu. Just a moment ago, my husband screamed at my demon-like anger. Well, no matter. If he doesn't sign, I'll just have to involve a professional. Sign or not, the divorce is happening. I've already informed my family. Emily. Here, Mom, what is it? Are you ready? Yeah. I've packed all my stuff. Responding to my call, my daughter popped her head out cheerfully. She held up her own bag in her hand. Hey, where are you going? With Emily's luggage and mine in hand, I turned to my husband. Good question. We're going to my parents' house now. What? Hey, don't joke. The only one joking here is you. I wasn't joking. A husband who visits his family just to treat his wife and daughter like maids is no joke. We'll discuss the divorce properly with a lawyer. Goodbye. I had said what needed to be said. I picked up our luggage and, together with Emily, headed towards the entrance. My husband desperately followed. Wait. You can't live without me. At his words, I stopped abruptly. Slowly turning around, my husband also stopped. Forgot something? I looked at him intently, then asked. What's that? Didn't you remember? I was more successful and earning more than you before. I left work because of pregnancy, but even then, I was making more than you are now. At these words, my husband's face turned ashen. Had he forgotten that we used to work at the same place? What conveniently selective memory. It has been a while since I quit my job, but it's time to start working again, little by little. My parents at home have said they'll help. I plan to stay with my parents for a while. I'll gradually return to work. Even if I can't earn as much as before, I think I'll manage. No, I will make it work. Seeing my resolve, my husband was nearly in tears. I'm sorry. I'll change, I swear. Please, just don't divorce me. You had many chances to change, but you wasted them all. It's too late to regret now. With that, I reached for the front door. That's when it happened. Wait. My mother-in-law, who had been silent until now, called out. Irritated, I turned back to see her with a troubled look. What is it? Frowning, I was met with a shout from my mother-in-law. What about my dinner? I don't care. I shouted back defiantly, and this time we truly left her house. My daughter and I headed straight to my parents' house. They greeted us with smiles. Well, what a tough start to Christmas, said my mother, encouraging us to sit in the living room. Relieved, Emily began peeling an orange. Christmas really is about family gathering. It was tough. I hope next year we can spend it in peace. With that wish in mind, I resolved to make a wish the next day. Afterward, the divorce negotiations with my husband, who kept saying he didn't want a divorce, were difficult, but considering the fact that our daughter was rejecting her father, we somehow managed to finalize it. The alimony was paid in a lump sum. I couldn't trust that man for anything else. As a result, the apartment we lived in was sold, and my now ex-husband, Jack, went back to his mother's home. My mom does nothing. In fact, she's gotten worse. One day, my ex-husband called, complaining and whining. Apparently, the neighbors had seen how I was overworked. And the news of our divorce had spread quickly through the rural gossip network. As a result, my former mother-in-law was being looked at unfavorably by the neighbors. Well, that's understandable. Calling one's daughter-in-law a maid is just unacceptable, no matter the rural setting. It's incredibly outdated. As a result, my former mother-in-law, who has become more reclusive at home, is lashing out and treating her son like a servant. He, in turn, talks back, and they end up arguing every day, he complained over the phone. But that's none of my concern. I planned to tell him the alimony had been deposited and then hang up. You're getting what you deserve, I said coldly. I could imagine him nearly crying on the other end of the phone. Please, help me out a little bit? I'm Emily's father, and she's my mother's granddaughter. To that, I smiled where he couldn't see and said, I'm drinking now. What's with that way of talking? I'm tipsy now. Hey, wait a minute. I can't go. Hey. I admitted I was wrong. What makes you think I'm coming? I yelled and hung up the phone. I set my husband's number to reject calls immediately. Laughter brings good fortune. After that, I couldn't stop laughing for a while.